He's absorbing so much, the Emperor's Divide. It comes in, but he's still alive. What is going on, baby? As Wei trying to get something done, but it does not matter. T1 are too strong.
4 times T1 has lost in a Game 5. 4 times they've been knocked down, and 4 times they have got back up for this moment.
It was 7 years since their last, a decade since their first. The SKT legacy has been reignited. T1 will be your 2023 World Champions.
League of Legends is one of the most popular video games in the world, with over 100 million players playing every month. Players choose from a large pool of 168 characters to work together with 4 other teammates to destroy the enemy team's base, also known as the Nexus. Created in 2008 by 2 USC alumni as a mod for the popular game Defense of the Ancients, it quickly gained popularity among players due to an innovative selling point: the free-to-play structure. 16 years later, League has continued to reign as one of the most popular and cutthroat video games. The League of Legends esports team also has one of the highest viewer counts out of any video game, with prize pools of up to $1 million, large sponsorships, and other revenue opportunities. The large stakes and esports scene make League of Legends a hyper-competitive game for both professional players and people who just like to play in their free time. But behind the thrill of competition, a hidden cost. League of Legends can be a breeding ground for mental health struggles, even for the average player who does not rely on their performance to make a living. This documentary dives deep into the complex relationship between League of Legends and mental health. We'll explore the challenges, the solutions, and the stories of the players on the front line. Ever since its conception, the League has had issues with the behavior of its player base. Ask any gamer which game is the most toxic, and you'll find that League is among the top 3 answers. When asking players where their frustration stems from, there's one clear answer: League's ranking system. The current League of Legends ranking system consists of 10 tiers to indicate the general skill level of players. These tiers range from Iron 4 to Challenger, with each tier below Master having 4 divisions, going from 4 to 1 as your rank increases. The rank of a player is more colloquially referred to as their ELO. Though it isn't League's ranking system that is inherently flawed, instead it is the concept of ranking systems throughout team-based video games as a whole that creates a toxic environment. When games are ranked, they become significantly more competitive, and the players become more invested in the outcome of each match. When players underperform, they are often insulted and even threatened. After all, no one wants to acknowledge that they were the reason that a game was lost. People naturally look outwards when assigning blame, and the same could not be more true of the largely adolescent and socially maladapted populations of online games. This assignment of blame, whether it be unfounded or based in reality, can foster a highly toxic environment. This problem of inherent toxicity can be furthered by abuses of the system. There are 3 main abuses of the ranked ladder. Number 1, boosting and smurfing. Boosting and smurfing during the process are the 2 most common abuses of the ranked system, especially outside of the highest ranked brackets of the game. Boosting is the act of increasing another player's rank by playing on their account in exchange for money. This ruins games because a better and higher elo player smurfs or plays in a lower ranked bracket, and therefore ruins the game quality by beating his opponents too easily. After the account reaches the intended rank, the original player who paid for the boosting service starts playing on the account again and ruins game quality even more as they are unable to compete with the more skilled players they meet in higher elos. Secondly, we'll go over win trading. Win trading is the act of intentionally losing games. This commonly occurs in higher ranked brackets where there are less players. A win trader will queue for a game and attempt to get into the same game as a streamer and ensure that the team they are on loses by playing poorly. Win traders do this as they can bet on the outcomes of games with streamers in them and because they can attempt to guarantee a loss for their own team. These issues, coupled with the lack of proper punishment, has created a culture of resentment towards the league community as a whole, and has created a culture where toxicity is the norm. This is reflected in many of the game's popular personas. Tyler1 is perhaps the most famous League of Legends streamer in the world. Tyler1 initially rose to prominence due to his excessive raging and toxicity exhibited on stream. As a result of his behavior, he was banned indefinitely from League of Legends in 2016, taking a 2-year-long hiatus from the game, streaming mostly variety content, and attempting to show his reformation. Eventually, he was unbanned from League of Legends, and his first stream after being unbanned broke viewership records. Though he claims to be reformed, Tyler1 exhibits toxic behavior on stream and is responsible for proliferating the toxic culture of the League community. Rat IRL. Tyler1 is not the only beacon of toxicity within the League community, however. The club L9 was, in past seasons, a beacon of toxic behavior, and while the group received considerable backlash and hate from the community, the reality of the situation is that many of the club members, such as Rat IRL and IW Dominate, still commanded large followings within the community. These were fans of not only their gameplay, but also their toxic and edgy behavior. While both claim to be reformed and are not as extreme as they were in previous years, they remain highly toxic on stream, often flaming their teammates and professional players. It is not only streamers, but even the esports professionals who are meant to be role models exhibit toxicity. This level of toxicity can be seen in the coaching practices of countless teams, such as those by the actions of EDG's coach, a world title winning organization.
为什么？为什么不利用大龙打架？为什么一定要抓大龙？
Keep in mind that this is only what happened on camera, and there is likely far worse abuse behind the scenes. Though it is not only coaches who are feared for their toxicity, even teammates will flame each other. This can be seen with the Chinese professional team Karsa, discrediting his teammates for a poor showing on multiple champions. Even though these players are meant to act as public ambassadors for the game and are meant to act as role models for casual players and streamers to look up to, they can't help but perpetuate the problem of toxicity that plagues the League of Legends community. The negative culture, along with the unhealthy lifestyle of being an esports player, has been shown to have numerous negative effects on the health of professional players. In a recent study done by New York scientists, it was reported that pro esports players practiced for hours a day, experiencing neck and back pain, wrist pain, and hand pain. The physical health issues are not exclusive to pro players and can also be found in casual players located anywhere on the ranked ladder. Players also find themselves losing multiple long matches in a row, which can be attributed to players feeling unsatisfied after a loss, leading them to continuously queue for more games until they reach a win. This, called tilt queuing, can lead to addiction to the video game, which creates further issues for them. Many studies have shown that video game addiction leads to changes in the brain that are similar to those that occur in substance addiction and gambling. According to studies by researchers from Taiba University, those with severe video game addiction played video games longer, usually missed classes in school, had lower grades, and reported more sleep problems. These health issues associated with when gaming is taken to the extreme is exemplified by the pro player Uzi. Uzi was a well-known and skilled League of Legends player. Unfortunately, Uzi was forced to retire at the age of 23 due to his poor diet, obesity, and lack of physical activity. Because of chronic stress, obesity, irregular diet, staying up late, and other reasons, I was found to have type 2 diabetes during a physical examination last year, Genzel, also known as Uzi. Additionally, the intensity and stress of training to compete at the highest levels left Uzi in both a poor physical and mental condition. One time I went to the hospital for a checkup and the doctor said my arms are similar to that of a 40 to 50-year-old. LPL tryouts? There aren't even spots for me to try out in the LDL. I really can't do it anymore. I no longer have the desire to play competitively, and that desire has been defeated by reality. Just practice more if you suck. I really can't handle professional play anymore. We train for at least 12 hours a day. Even 15 hours a day is considered normal. It's really hard to take. Maybe other leagues have it easier, but the training schedule in LCK and LPL is really tough. If I don't train to that level, I can't catch up. But if I train to that level, my body and health can't catch up. While the physical and mental health toll on the individual as a result of playing video games has been well documented, the impact of video games on social relations is less clear. Typically, the people who play video games are associated with decreased social interaction, ability, and overall withdrawal from society. However, the studies that have been done have been conflicting over the relationship between playing video games versus social ability and loneliness. One study by Al-Sadea et al. Found gamers become dependent upon the personalities they create in the online games. Gamers regularly experience difficulty with social connections and feel forlorn, lacking a sense of belonging. Yet another study by Damahidi et al. Found that the results suggest that gaming-related ties might be very useful. Especially modality switching between the two spheres might lead to strong ties and accordingly to additional bonding social capital. Ultimately, the social effects of gaming can be more strongly tied to the motivation to play video games. A person who plays video games to socialize is more likely to seek and create social connections through video games while maintaining real-world relationships. However, people who use video games to escape reality or to avoid social interaction are less likely to seek and create social connections online. Our inclinations are supported by Nebo et al. Specifically, gamers with a higher social motive for gaming perceived less loneliness, but gamers with a dominant escape motive demonstrated a positive link to perceived loneliness. Video games do not cause people to withdraw from social networks or society. Instead, video games are just means to an end for a person's initial motivations, whether it be to avoid reality or to create new connections. Video games only serve to amplify the hidden characteristics or motivations of a person. All of this may seem distant, but the truth is it could affect anyone you know. Our team has found a League of Legends player willing to answer some questions about the game. Our journey takes us to Carmel, Indiana, where we have a special guest who will provide insight into the minds of League of Legends players. Our guest has chosen not to share his voice, face, or name.
For me personally, I've been playing this game for around 4 to 5 years, right? And currently, my rank is Diamond, but I peaked Masters last season. What got me into League was my so-called friends recommended this game, they started playing this game before me, and they all convinced me to start playing this game out of my own, despite the fact that I did not want to play this game. They all convinced me to. I would say, as of right now, I'm very disappointed with the game currently. This is because the game developers, particularly Riot Freak and Riot August, are the most dumb developers to ever grace this fucking planet. They're terrible at balancing their champs, and they're fucking balding, and they suck at the game. And on top of that, the community that this game has is the worst community I've ever seen in my entire life. Everybody is dull, and everybody talks too much, but everybody is terrible. Nobody has any idea how to play this game. And the people that have no idea how to play this game are the people that are beaten the most. Other than me, of course. Yes, I would have to say that that is the reason why this game is so mentally draining. I think inherently, as a 5v5 multiplayer game where you need other individuals to succeed in the game, right? Inherently, that will end up causing mental trauma no matter what game it is, right? Look at other games. You look at Overwatch. You look at Rainbow Six Siege. All those players have zero life. They're toxic as. But you know what? Nothing compares to League, because League is more than just a game, man. 10 hours, man. I eat, I dream, I sleep, I live for this game, man. It's not even a game anymore. Like I said, I have no sleep. I have no life. I don't do anything for school. I play League at school. I joined the League of Legends esports club so I can play League more. It hurts.
While playing video games has harmful effects associated with them, everyone can take steps to create a more positive culture surrounding video games in general. Since video games merely act as a way to amplify a person's tendencies, by taking steps to change the culture, we can incentivize people to adopt healthier lifestyles and discourage bad lifestyles. The first step everybody can take to create a healthier environment is to play video games in moderation. Like everything else in life, anything in excess is bad. In moderation, video games have shown to have positive effects. A recent survey conducted by Ellen Garbarino, a professor at the University of Sydney, found that moderate video gaming, less than 3 hours a day, was unlikely to have any impact on depression levels, loneliness, resilience, or overall quality of life. She also found that teens who play games of luck were related to more depression, more resilience, and gambling. Additionally, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration recently approved the use of a so-called serious video game for treatment of children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The approval of video games as a treatment option in the U.S. adds to the legitimacy of video games having beneficial effects in moderation. Finally, when players play video games in moderation, it reduces toxic behavior, creating a safer, more positive environment surrounding the game itself. In a study by Chin et al., specifically when players had an uncontrollable urge to play games, for example, obsessive passion, they were more likely to perform toxicity. When players' passions indicated concordance between games and their pre-existing values, players were more likely to carry out pro-social behaviors. Learning to play video games in moderation is just one step in creating a positive culture. Another crucial step in developing a better culture is being able to dissociate yourself from the video game. A common example of being able to dissociate yourself from your ranking are students at school. A study done by Chen et al. Showed that university ranking positively correlated with students' university major and self-identity, but negatively correlated with learning satisfaction due to the effect of university identity acting as a suppressor. Having the ability to detach yourself from the ranking system or environment enables you to actually perform better or enjoy the experience more. Therefore, by not tying your self-worth to a video game, gamers will enjoy the game more, creating a more positive environment. Another thing people can do to create a better culture around video games is looking up to better role models. According to Ando et al., role models are individuals with adolescents admire. Since identity formation is an central focus during adolescence, individuals often look to adults to determine what is appropriate and acceptable behavior, as well as to identify role models whom they would like to resemble. By encouraging younger adolescents to look up to role models that exemplify the traits we want, i.e. exercising, maintaining healthy relationships, and not tying self-worth to video games, being kind, and playing in moderation, these adolescents will grow up to learn that those same traits are that is appropriate and acceptable behavior. Currently, the video game space is filled with hyper-sensationalized streamers who are toxic and aggressive because it gets a lot of attention. Unfortunately, this teaches kids that aggression and toxicity are acceptable online, despite its real-world consequences. Encouraging kids to look to a more positive role model, thus will develop their own safer and healthier culture. The last step in creating a healthier culture is for game developers to take steps to prevent toxicity. A perfect example of this is what Riot Games did. Riot Games implemented a 3-step approach to curbing toxicity. Firstly, shielding players from toxic language. Second, opening up the Tribunal, a portal where a collection of reported clips and chat logs were shown, and the community could then essentially self-police themselves, judging what is bannable and suspendable behavior. And lastly, using an in-game stimuli to prime the players. Priming is using the stimuli to make the player more likely to perform a certain action or feel a certain emotion. These 3 small steps ended up curbing toxic behavior by a significant amount, 2 to 10%. While the Tribunal was no longer around due to it being slow and sometimes biased, it did provide Riot a lot of information to improve their abusive chat model. We learned a lot from Tribunal when it was around, and it actually became one of the bases of our current model for abusive chats. By curbing toxic behavior, players will act less negatively because they are exposed to less negative behavior and are in better moods when playing video games. To recap, playing in moderation, dissociating from the video game, encouraging better behavior through more positive role models, and building systems to curb toxic behavior will all contribute to developing a more positive environment to play video games. By building a healthier culture surrounding video games, we can prevent the negative side effects when gaming is taken to an extreme. At first, it seems like video games inherently create issues such as addiction, which may lead to poor performance in other aspects of the player's life. With more research, however, it becomes more clear that the mindset of the player is more telling of whether or not they become negatively affected by the game. On top of that, the community plays a significant role in the toxicity of League of Legends. Ultimately, it is up to the player to determine how the game will influence their lives. Sure, creating a better community may help, but in the end, the player is responsible for their own well-being.
Tries to go forward with the 90 caliber net, but it doesn't matter. It won't.